Hello, this is Griff. But this time I'm not in Humboldt Redwood State Park. You guys can probably tell because behind me is the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. So Humboldt Redwood State Park does not border the ocean. So where am I? Well, it's Biodiversity Week. And so I want to talk about a lot of different things during Biodiversity Week. So I have my friend Carol here with me, and she's a biologist. So if you want to grow up and be a biologist, you need to talk to someone like her because she can hook you up. But we're going to talk about inside of the North Coast Redwood District, which Humboldt Redwood State Park is a part of. We have lots and lots and lots of different projects thanks to our awesome natural resource staff that where we're trying to help biodiversity, protect it, restore it. We have endangered species here. We have threatened species here, right? I always mess up on the endangered and threatened. Do we have threatened? Do we have endangered too?
No, I can't think of any.
Okay, spotted owl?
They're not here in the ocean.
Yeah, not in this park.
Yeah.
But in the district.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a difference between, so the Endangered Species Act has different categories, and I'm still trying to map it out, so if you get confused, just forgive yourself. We'll hit on that a little bit today, but mainly what we're gonna talk about is and we're not gonna talk about fires. We talked about fires yesterday, so if you missed it, go to Humboldt Redwood State Park Facebook page, and I did a little short thing on fires, and you guys can check that out, because I feel like a lot of people found it useful, because fires is a complex issue, and you can see the smoke in the sky, but we're not going to talk about fires today because it's California Biodiversity Week, and we want to talk about other things too, even though it's hard to talk about anything else right now than fires, right? So bless you, firefighters, and you know, my heart goes out to everybody who's losing homes and evacuating, and I hope that you all get peace and safety really, really soon. Okay, so we're going to talk about something else that's threatened besides people. We're going to talk about some animals that are threatened. So I'm going to give you a close-up of this sign here. So let's see, where is it at? Okay, see that cute little bird? And some of you are probably thinking, it looks like every other shorebird that I see at the ocean. It looks like every other little shorebird my dog chases at the ocean. And oops, that's in mirror form. So this is that's a snowy plover, and it does, here, you guys don't want to see my nose that up close. It does look like a lot of other seabirds, and I've done a little bit of bird watching, Carol, and there's a million birds that look like that shorebird right there. So you got to get really close to it. Is there any like super distinguishing feature that people could say, oh, that's the threatened snowy plover?
Well, they're white on their underside, and they're like a tan sand-colored color on the top, and they are not your typical shorebirds that you'll see running back and forth along the wave slope, following the waves back and forth in big flocks. Those are sanderlings usually.
Okay.
And snowy plovers are here year-round, but they're really hard to see because they're camouflaged.
Mm-hmm.
They've evolved this great camouflage to hide in the sand and to hide their nests and to hide their chicks. So
awesome.
if you see a huge flock, it's likely not snowy plovers.
Not snowy plovers. Because there's not a lot of them to make a huge flock. And
right.
Also, because of the ocean, we're going to have to talk loud and out the camera, because I'm just realizing the waves are probably hiding our voices. You're not known? I would have never guessed.
Right.
So snowy plovers are threatened. And so the Endangered Species Act has a category called threatened. And how do you get on? I mean, that's not like the list you want to be on, but how do you get on that list?
By your population plummeting, and there's different criteria. I don't know them off the top of my head. But the western snowy plover, which is a distinct population segment, is the threatened part of the snowy plover species. Snowy plovers occur worldwide, and they're doing great in places like Turkey and the Mideast.
Oh, cool.
But on the west coast of North America, they're not, and their numbers are really low, and they're threatened by all sorts of things, mostly development, loss of habitat, disturbance, and encroachment by non-native species, and predation.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So, you know, one of the interesting things about California is that there's twice as many people here as when I was born, and I'm barely 29, or 49, give or take.
39.
So the population is almost, we have 40 million people here, and now during COVID and hot weather, we want to go to the beach,
right?
And we want to take our very, very best and super cute friend, our dog, and we want to run on the beach. And so one time I was doing that, with my very super cute friend that was a dog, and she brought me back a killdeer baby. And it's a little killdeer baby is, I know that's a weird name, but it's a little shorebird. It's so cute, but they don't fly. They run around the ground like snowy plovers.
Right,
and
they're related to plovers. They're a type of plover.
They're a type of plover.
Yep.
So my dog got one, and
Nice.
may she rest in peace now. But that really bothered me, and so. But you want your dogs are cooped up in backyards and stuff like that, and you want them to run around. And so a lot of times when people come to a beach like this, and this is a closure sign, so this is a rope that's closing people off the snowy plover habitat. And this is Clam Beach, right? This is right next to Clam Beach.
Yeah, Little River State Beach and Clam Beach.
Yeah, so Little River State Beach. And people want their dogs to run free, and I totally get it. I think everybody totally gets it.
Oh, yeah. We love dogs.
We love dogs. Dogs are our best friends.
Yeah.
And so when we see this, a lot of people get upset. I know they do. And so, but we're not willing to let these birds go extinct. Like, in California. And it's an indicator of we're not managing our state properties for everything. And not everybody wants to walk their dog. Like, I don't have a dog anymore. I want to go bird watching. And I want to see snowy plovers. And so we're having to manage for a lot of different things, and some people get really, really angry about it, and it's super hard, but we want to bring these species back. So is what we're doing working? And what are we doing?
Yeah, a lot of what we're doing is working, and I understand wanting to take your dog out and run free on the beach. Everybody wants to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We try to have the slogan, share the shore or share the beach, and just keep certain areas off limits for plovers to breed in, and it seems to work out as long as everybody cooperates. Dogs and people can go down to the ocean shore and on the wet sand, and then the plovers are more free to not be disturbed while they're trying to nest and rear chicks, which, just imagine if you were trying to raise your baby out in the open and people kept walking through and keeping you from feeding the baby or feeding yourself. It would be really rough, and the plovers don't really have other places to go. They have beaches along the coast and gravel bars on the river, and so we need to protect those areas.
Yeah, and people often think of birds and they think, why don't they just fly away? Or how come their nest isn't up in a tree? So there's not very many ground nesting birds. Like plovers, they don't build an elaborate nest. They don't weave a bunch of sticks around. What do? How do they build their nests?
Yeah, so I've been told many times by people, oh, plovers are stupid. Why don't they, change their ways? Well, evolution takes a long time. And when it was, less crowded out here and there were less cities and less ravens around, it worked for them. They would just scoop out a little place in the sand, maybe with some tiny sticks around it or pieces of shell as you see over there. And they would lay their eggs, 3 eggs that are about that big. And they were perfectly camouflaged, and they are. They're really hard to find, even as biologists, and we look really hard. You can hear shorebirds in the background, whimbrels calling. I don't know if you can or not. But,
probably. That's pretty loud.
Yeah, so they rely on crypsis or camouflage, and it's worked really well until we just had such an increase in humans and their habitat and all the things that we bring with us that impact them.
Like off-road vehicles. Like, I used to love to ride quads on the beach.
Right.
And, there should be spots for that.
Yeah, and there are in state parks.
Yeah, we have off-road vehicle parks.
Right. Even here in Humboldt County on the North Spit, there's an off-road vehicle park. It's not a state park, but there are state parks that allow OHVs, and up in Oregon. I mean, we've worked really hard with user groups to provide areas that everybody can use. So
it's a rough balancing act.
Yeah.
And you can't make everybody happy all the time, but we're trying.
Right.
Give us a break. We're really trying.
Yeah.
Snowy plovers are really cool. And, my father's very religious. And, and sometimes when we talk about endangered species, I always tell him, well, if it was good enough for Noah to put on the ark, then it's good enough for us to save too. And, that might not be the most convincing argument for a lot of people. But I think that if it evolved here and it lived here, it's an indicator of how biodiversity is an indicator of how we're treating the environment. And California is the most biodiverse state by far.
Yeah.
And we're actually a global biodiversity hotspot. So we're cool.
Really lucky.
We don't want any of our cool stuff to go extinct. And also, we're just learning about stuff. People think that scientists know everything. There's birds we don't even know, their whole life cycle. Birds, you think that everybody would know everything about birds, but we don't. And And so I'm glad that we're doing this. I'm glad that there's a little spot carved out for nature still. And you know what's, and it's not really your dog and it's not really your off-road vehicle that's destroying the majority of their habitat. If you look over there, what's really destroying their habitat is non-native species. So there's grass all over the beach here. So if you guys come here and you see all this like grass everywhere that's holding the dunes in place, that's Ammophila.
Yeah, the grass way in the distance.
It's like way in the distance over there.
This part's restored. We've done a lot of restoration, and not to interrupt you.
No, this is good interruption.
But he was talking about biodiversity, so this restoration isn't good just for snowy plovers. It's good for a lot of things like native pollinators, native plants.
Lots of bees out here, native bees.
Yeah, and beetles and rabbit, jackrabbits and skunks.
And little rabbits. We saw the tracks coming in here.
Mice, all sorts of native animals use this area. Savanna sparrows, song sparrows, wetlands. When it gets rainy, we'll have ducks and different shorebirds back here during the winter.
So when there's Ammophila, Ammophila can completely takes over the dunes, and so there's not a lot of those other things. There's not the biodiversity. There's just one thing, and that's the bummer about invasive species, is they came from someplace else here without their predators and competitors, and so there's nothing to stop them, and then they push out all of our cool stuff, our cool bees, our cool flowers, our snowy plovers. So and so there's volunteer events where people can poll Ammophila. Is that correct?
There's all sorts of volunteer events that Michelle Foy, our exotics plant specialist, works on. And during COVID times, it's a little bit harder, but once this all passes, there's all sorts of opportunities. And you could come out and help us here, help us at Gold Coast Beach, help us at Big Lagoon. All those places are places where plovers nest. We'd love it.
Yes, invasive species eradication is super, super helpful. We have volunteer events, and don't buy them and don't plant them. Like there's an app called Plant Right, or I think they have a Facebook page, and so you can find out if there's invasives being sold at your nursery. And don't buy those. Plant natives. We got really California Native Plant Society's native plant sales on the 26th. Or 27th, one of those two. You can go to cmps.org and then you can find our chapter and you can go there and buy native plants. And there's also Lost Foods Nursery, which is, I think, it's open Thursdays and Saturdays. So, Carol, one last question. So we love snowy plovers, and we're going to put up some videos and some resources so you can learn more about them and see them, because you want to see them. They're really, really cute.
Yeah, they're super cute.
Yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough to save them for me. If it's cute, we should save it. What about the ugly things? Okay, if it's here, we should save it. But
they have their ugly teenage week.
Oh, they have their bad hair day. Okay, well, then we're being inclusive, and we can save them too. So, what is, besides volunteering to poll Ammophila, do you think that just coming out and exploring the dunes and seeing the native wildlife would help people be motivated to want to preserve biodiversity?
I definitely think so. It's done that for me. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I loved being outdoors and appreciated nature. I think educating yourself and educating those around you is really helpful, and bringing them out into nature, really good. And
we're doing this is biodiversity week. We're doing a BioBlitz contest between Prairie Creek and Humboldt Redwood State Park, which has been totally interrupted by the fires. But you can still download iNaturalist app to your phone, or iNaturalist Seek, and you can come out here and you can start doing your own BioBlitz. It's like Pokemon Go for nature nerds, and then it helps you identify what things are, and then you can look them up and find out interesting things and see how they interact. Like, this is a seaside buckwheat. What lays its eggs on it? One of the things about seaside buckwheat, and I'm going to go on a tangent real quick, but sometimes there'll be like it's kind of a hairy leaf, and there'll be a bald spot. I always wondered what caused that, and I found out it's a bee. It's a bee collecting the hair to line their underground nest for the babies. So interesting. So get out there and explore. It's a good way to get interested in wanting to be compassionate, empathetic to things, is to understand it. So part of understanding it is to go outside and play in it. So, but not with a crazy dog and an off-road vehicle. Not everywhere. You got to find the spots for the crazy dog, find the spots for the off-road vehicle, and find the spots for some quiet, nature observation, because we offer all those things in state parks. So thank you very much, Carol.
Sure. And I wanted to say one last thing.
Okay.
I was mistaken that there are no endangered species here. If you could see way offshore, you might be able to see marbled merlets. On the ocean. They're endangered, and they are out there now after their breeding season, fishing and rearing. They're not rearing their juveniles, but their juveniles are out there too. So.
Oh, nice. Awesome. All right, so we will talk to you guys all later. Those of you who are fighting fires, we love you.
Thank you.
Those of you who are evacuating, we're with you. And those of you who are struggling with the smoke, good luck. Stay inside, wear a mask. And those of you who are looking for something to do, why don't you go to Prairie Creek and do some bio blitzing? They need your help because Humboldt Redwood State Parks is ahead by 300 to 400 observations.
On my way there.
Oh, you're on your way there? Okay, good. Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, you guys, and thanks for caring about things.
Yeah, happy Biodiversity Week.